Hi, welcome to Museum Moments. Today is the third night of Hanukkah, and I'm here. I'm Ellie Gettinger. I'm the Education Director at Jewish Museum Milwaukee, and I am here today. I'm joined by Hannah Sattler, who is the owner, operator, chef extraordinaire of Hannah's Kitchen. Hannah's Kitchen is the only full-service kosher caterer in Wisconsin at this moment. So she's a pretty busy lady. So we're really delighted to have her here to talk about some of the food traditions of Hanukkah. And when we talk Hanukkah, there's two big foods that come to mind. And I wanted to get your sense of those traditions and what they mean and kind of how people implement them. So I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about Hanukkah food.
Yeah, so we look at mostly anything fried in oil. That's really the tradition that we see due to the miracle of the oil. And so you look at Shukganiyot and Latkes are the most commonly eaten ones, I would say, in America. But I think just like everywhere, as the song goes, wherever you go, there's always someone Jewish. And so there are definitely other oil fried foods no matter where you go in the world. There's Bahraini Jews, there are Sephardi Jews, and I'm sure that everyone has their take on these oil fried foods. We're just in America mostly Ashkenazi Jews, and so that is the take that we have. Is I think even back in the day was more the Latkes traditionally, and as Israel has gotten more and more into their Sufganiyot, we've seen that infiltrate into America as well. But I think I always look at it as a way to be creative. So we know something needs to be fried. And so you really can take your own take on that and do what you want with it as well, I think. I don't think you have to stay within those ramifications of what we grew up with. There's all ways to fry things, right?
I mean, who doesn't love fried food? It's basically what Wisconsin is, but if you think about State Fair, that is Hanukkah in a festival.
Right. And rest of the year, we all try to kind of stay away from fried foods, right? So it's like an excuse for the week to be able to do fried food. So
could it be better in the middle as we're starting our winter season that you can just put on that extra hibernation weight?
Yeah.
So latkes are kind of an Eastern European Polish dish. And it's basically just, the simplest of ingredients: potatoes, onion, oil, maybe some.
Usually onions.
What? Yeah.
Usually onions are included as well. Obviously seasoning, a binder, eggs, and most of them have some type of flour or some kind of component as well to help keep it together. And there's all different ways to do it because we also do gluten-free ones. So, then you have to play around with what you're adding in to help keep them together. But and then we've all done like the sweet potato or the other, all the different kinds. But the traditional, though I will say there is a difference, and some people talk about like there's the potato pancake you'll get like with a fish fry here in Wisconsin. And those are a very different type of potato pancake versus our latkes. So
when you're making a latke, I mean, one of the things that is, I think that there's a sensory element to the holiday of Hanukkah. And, so much of this is about fried in oil because of the miracle. The oil lasted for 8 days, as you said. But like there is this ever-present scent of fried oil that lasts for days beyond the actual celebration of Hanukkah. Do you have any tips for that, or is it that's just how things go?
It's funny because I won't notice when you're in it. And I have gone places where like I will be somewhere and like one of my kids' friends will go, you smell like latkes. And it's like on me. And I'm like, oh, do I? Like
that's the occupational hazard of being a caterer at Hanukkah.
Yeah, can you imagine? I go to like a bar and someone picks me up because I smell like a fried pancake. But I would say at home when I've done them in a commercial kitchen, it's less of an issue, honestly, because of the air systems that we have. At home, I have done it with my windows open, fans going, in a winter coat, standing there just frying up. So I try not to smell at my home. I personally, in general, have found if there is a smell that some people don't mind it if you notice it. Even just taking like cinnamon and boiling water when you're done kind of permeates the home in general. So it's kind of just takes over the smell, and that will kind of help dissipate it as well.
So Shukganiyot is one of those things. Latkes are probably a little bit better known, but Shukganiyot still, and as you said, is something that is kind of climbing in popularity right now. What is Shukganiyot? What is it? What are the kinds of variations, and what are the ways in which we enjoy that?
Yeah, so traditionally what we think of as the traditional original ones that we would see coming from Israel, which was a fried dough ball, usually yeast-based, with jelly filled in it and then covered in sugar, either powdered or granulated sugar. Everyone has their little take on that. But truthfully, a sufganiyat to me is just a donut, and there's so many versions you can do. So in our past of my business, we've done beignets, which are a more French style donut, and then we've done dipping sauces because like, I actually don't like jelly filled donuts, just not my jam. No pun intended, but like, huh?
Good fun though.
Yeah, but like I like chocolate or I like other things. This year we are going to actually a more traditional stuffed donut of sufganiyat, and so we're going to be doing custard, chocolate, and jelly filled. We are sticking to the beignet for our gluten-free version with the dipping sauce, just because those are already harder, just because of gluten-free in general. So, but in Israel, you look at the pictures and they're amazing. I mean, they're artistic, they're out there, the flavors, just the look of it, it's become very like avant-garde almost in some respect. I would love to like venture into that one day. Unfortunately, we are doing brisket and so many other items all the time that it is hard to focus on one item in that way. But yeah, I mean, there's so many takes that you could take on it. You know, and you could do sweet potato, you could take other things, but it usually is just a yeast fried ball, usually a sweeter based one. And then you're stuffing and you're jamming that in there with whatever you want to fill yours with.
Is there, so I feel like what we're saying is maybe we need to have a Shukganiyot festival so that we can actually really get into that experimentation mode.
Yeah, I mean, we could. I don't know that I could partake in more than one personally, maybe make them a little smaller. But yeah, I mean, I think donuts are donuts. I mean, I think that's also the difference. You can have a baked version. I mean, the traditional would be fried. Though I notoriously a couple years ago had a very horrible accident when frying donuts, so most of my staff keeps me away now. but but it didn't scare me. I still fried more the last couple years.
So in terms of, is there any kind of with oil, other things that you are thinking about this year that you're going to try and improvise or kind of innovate with?
No, I think we're so busy in general right now with everything that we're keeping it more basic. But you know, we are doing the gluten-free and really putting on the menu versus special requests. That's hard. And just we're doing new fillings, and doing that for us is just a new turn on it. And so just learning and figuring out. Donuts also really are, especially fried donuts, are only really the best the day of. So you're not getting a day old donut. So you have to really produce them the day that they're ordered, and push them out that same day. They sit too long and they just get a little hard.
You know, that's the thing about fried foods. Latkes too, never as good the next day. You know,
you can reheat a latke. I've worked on reheating donuts here and there, and it'll work for like my kids enough, but like not as a general consumption situation for a large group.
Is there anything as we're celebrating Hanukkah right now that you're kind of thinking about in this season, post-COVID, still in the midst, you know, kids are getting more vaccinated, just things to consider as we're in this new kind of holiday season?
No, I mean, I think, you know, it's how do you make it exciting and different? And even if you don't feel comfortable gathering with like a larger group, there are ways to be creative. Like I've done that with my kids when I do have the time, where you could take a spin on the fried foods and do a different culture every night. So like you know, as I said, it's just about fried foods. You don't have to do what your grandparents and their grandparents did. You can take your own spins. Like I have catered a Hanukkah meal where we did Italian and we did fried ravioli. And then we did fried ricotta donuts. And so like, that's a way to do it. You can, I mean, let's be honest, every culture has fried foods in it, right? So you could do egg rolls, those are fried. So there's, you know, you could do around the world. So there's a way that you could, and include your kids in it and kind of, you know, make it fun with it. The other thing I would say, just because I know health-wise, people are always worried, we've got all these air fryers now. So again, it's not going to be really in the vein and the tradition, but I'm sure we all have our moms. I know my mom's done this where she bakes them because the latkes, because they want to try to make them healthier and all that. And, you know, so there's a lot of ways to kind of include kids, and the air frying is safer for kids. So like are ways to keep the kids involved.
And a little less smelly as well.
Yeah. And I would say also just the idea of, again, latkes aren't the only way to fry it. You can do fritters. So like getting your kids to try new vegetables. You could do a zucchini fritter. You can do all different ones. And so you can include your kids in that menu planning if you really wanted to make Hanukkah exciting. You know, it's a different kind of holiday. It's super close to Thanksgiving this year, so it's going to be a different type of celebration. We don't necessarily have our large events that we would always go to, or maybe going to different homes every night. And so there's ways to just incorporate that in with your family and make it your own tradition. I think that's one thing we, in a positive way, we've learned in COVID is how do we make our own traditions in a new way just to adapt to our current world situation.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much. This has been great. I'm suddenly really hungry for latkes and Shukganiyot, and I have no idea why. This has been Museum Moments with Jewish Museum Milwaukee. You can find more information about JMM at jewishmuseummilwaukee.org. We are also open, so come and visit us. You can find information about Hannah's Kitchen at Hannah's Kitchen.
MKE.
Hannah's Kitchen MKE.com. And thanks as always to our supporter, Robin Cohen, for making Museum Moments possible. Have a wonderful day.